AITA for letting a leaked TikTok ruin my ex's reputation after she laughed at my proposal. The night had everything to be out of a movie. A rooftop overlooking the downtown Los Angeles skyline with views toward the Hollywood sign in the distance, string lights, a string trio playing softly, and the glittering city lights shining in the background. Connor planned every detail of Natalie's 27th birthday so that it would be the perfect setting for a marriage proposal. But as he knelt with a ring in his hand, he did not realize he was not in a romantic moment, but on a film set. When Natalie laughed and fired the phrase that would destroy the relationship, "Did you seriously think this was serious?" She thought she had guaranteed the viral video of the year. What she did not expect was that Connor had his own hidden camera and that the complete truth, without the malicious filters or edits of TikTok, was about to come to light and change the game forever. Today on Reddit Premium, you will discover what happens when someone decides not to argue, not to beg, and not to yell, and ends up facing something he never imagined. Get your snacks and a drink ready, because the satisfaction is about to begin. 2 years later, I saw her for the last time. She was sitting across from me in a coffee shop in Silver Lake, with no makeup, her hair pulled back in a low bun, and eyes that seemed to have aged a decade in 24 months. She did not have a cell phone in her hand. It was the first time I saw her without one since I met her. She ordered an Americano without looking up at the waitress. When she finally looked at me, she said in a quiet voice, "Do you ever think about me?" Only when someone asks me what I am not willing to tolerate, but I am getting ahead of myself. I am going to tell you everything from the beginning because you need to understand how a guy who got down on one knee with a ring in his hand ended up being the one who did not take it seriously. My name is Connor Blake. I am 30 years old, and I am a freelance videographer in Los Angeles. I film weddings, corporate events, and short documentaries for nonprofits. I know about lights, angles, and how a camera can change the story depending on where you put it. That will be important later. Natalie and I met at a coworker's wedding in a hotel in Beverly Hills. It was July 2022. I did not even want to be there. My friend Tyler dragged me along because he did not want to go alone. I was sitting near the bar, half on my phone, when she walked in. She was not loud, but everyone noticed her. She was the kind of person who fills a room effortlessly. She jumped around with strangers, danced alone without caring who was watching, and somehow ended up sitting next to me after tripping over my chair. We talked about nonsense, about how bad the wedding playlist was, about her absurd fear of pigeons. The irony did not escape me. We talked about French fries with milkshakes. She said it was disgusting. I said she was missing out on something incredible. She laughed so hard that 3 people turned around. I remember thinking I could listen to that laugh forever. Later, we left at the same time. We found a food truck and shared some tacos with lots of hot sauce and lime, leaning on the hood of a car that belonged to neither of us. It felt easy, as if we had known each other for years. A week later, we were dating. The first year was peaceful. Impromptu road trips up the coast to Santa Barbara, movie nights that lasted until 4 in the morning, meeting each other's friends. She brought life to everything. I liked being the calm one next to her chaos. Everyone loved her. My friends, my family, my clients. I truly believed she was the one. She said she loved that I was stable. I liked that she turned boring days into an adventure. Natalie worked in digital marketing for an agency in West Hollywood. Nothing spectacular, but she had ambition. When she was promoted to public relations and started moving in the world of influencers and events, that was when things began to change. She started talking about personal brands, organizers, photographers, people who were always taking pictures. At first, I thought it was part of the job. Then she started saying things like, "You have to understand that this is my world now." I did not argue. I always believed people should grow, but slowly it started to feel like I was watching her drift away towards something I was not a part of. Her cell phone became a problem, always face down, always close by. She would smile while reading messages and quickly lock the screen. A time or two I asked her who it was. "Work stuff, relax." So I relaxed, but I kept noticing. Everyone notices, even if they pretend they do not. Around that time she started calling me too serious, not in fights, but casually. If I mentioned the idea of moving in together or planning a trip 6 months in advance, she would say, "You think too much about the future. Let us just enjoy." I did not think asking about the future meant pressuring her, but to her, apparently, it did. Then came the little lies, not big enough to confront her, but not small enough to ignore. She would say she was having dinner around Santa Monica, but the background of her photo looked like downtown. I asked her once, and she shrugged. I changed plans. With no guilt, no nervous laugh, nothing. I let it go. Once I found a receipt from a restaurant in Pasadena in her jacket pocket. She had told me she was working late at the office. The receipt was for 2 people, 2 cocktails, 2 main courses, a shared dessert. I did not say anything to her. I took a picture of it and added it to the notes on my phone. I do not know why. Instinct, maybe. Or the habit of a videographer who knows that everything is told better with evidence. There were other things. She stopped introducing me as her boyfriend in public. She started saying, "my guy." The first time I thought it was a joke. By the third time, I understood it was not. At a dinner with her PR colleagues, someone asked, "And what do you do?" Before I could answer, Natalie said, "He films things." Not he is a videographer. Not he has his own company. He films things. As if my job were a minor hobby not worth talking about. She also started scrolling on her phone while I was talking, laughing at something on the screen mid-conversation. I would stop talking. She would say, "Sorry, what were you saying?" After a while, I stopped repeating myself. She still had her sweet moments, random messages, little gifts, that kind of "I miss you" that makes you forget everything else. I think that is what kept me there longer than I should have been. When she was good, she was incredible, but when she pulled away, she made me feel like I was asking for too much just by wanting honesty. One night we were watching something at her apartment in Echo Park, and her phone lit up. She laughed, typed quickly, and flipped it over. I did not say anything, but I caught myself looking. "You are not going to get jealous, right?" she asked. "No, honestly no," I smiled. She kissed my cheek and said, "Good, I like that about you." It felt as if she was testing how far she could go before I reacted. I started writing things down on my phone, times, places, things she said that later did not add up, not to catch her, just so I would not feel crazy. She already had her bags packed. I just had not realized that she was planning her exit while I was still planning her birthday. Natalie's 27th birthday was approaching, and she had been talking about it nonstop for weeks. She wanted something elevated. Her word, not mine, a rooftop dinner with friends, family, and her PR colleagues. She was exchanging mood boards with her friend Madison and chatting about locations. Madison was the leader of what Natalie called her content circle, the group of friends who filmed everything always. I barely knew them, but I knew what they stood for. Content first, reality second. When Natalie mentioned the rooftop, I already knew which one she would choose. The hotel in Beverly Hills where we met 3 years ago. She still called it my lucky place. Without telling her, I booked the space. I involved Madison to handle the guest list and logistics on Natalie's end so she would not connect the details to me. I thought, if she wants a perfect night, I am going to make it happen. And that was when I decided I would propose to her. I had been thinking about it for months, but I hesitated. Lately, something felt off, but I pushed that thought away. I thought maybe doing it on her birthday would remind us both of who we were before everything got complicated. I planned everything myself. I reserved the private section of the rooftop, hired a string trio, violin, viola, and cello. I asked the hotel to put up warm string lights and gold decorations to match her theme. The manager told me it was a popular spot for proposals. It sounded like a good sign. The ring was not huge, but it was special. A silver ring with a teardrop-shaped opal stone. Months ago, Natalie joked that she liked stones with weird shapes that look like raindrops. I remembered that comment. I thought it would touch her heart. I told Tyler, my best friend, about the plan. He helped me with the timing. After dinner, after the cake, when everyone was seated and quiet, I would stand up, say a few words, give the signal to the trio, and pop the question. No dramatic speeches, just honest words. What I did not tell anyone is that I was going to be recording. I am a videographer. It is what I do. I know every camera model on the market, every angle, every lighting trick. I placed a small GoPro Hero 11 near one of the rooftop planters before the guests arrived, secured with a Velcro clip I bought at a photography store in the area. I hid it behind a lavender planter with the lens pointing toward the main table, wide angle, ambient audio, no visible indicator lights. I did not plan to post anything. I just wanted a record, something real, unedited, without filters, without the angle that someone else decided told the story better. Maybe it sounds paranoid, but I had spent years editing wedding videos, and I knew exactly how a single shot can change the entire narrative of a moment. A 10-second clip can turn a hero into a villain if you choose where to cut. And having a girlfriend whose friends filmed everything for TikTok as if life were a permanent reality show, I wanted my own version of events. Just in case. The just in case turned out to be the best decision I made in 3 years. A few days before the dinner, I messaged Hannah, one of Natalie's quietest friends. She was never part of the content circle. I asked her if Natalie seemed okay lately, just to make sure I was not missing something. Hannah took a while to reply. When she did, it was short. She is fine. Just prepare yourself for anything. I asked her what she meant. She never answered. That phrase stuck in my head. I almost canceled everything that night, but I convinced myself I was overthinking. The night of Natalie's birthday was perfect. The kind of night people post about for weeks, and then compare to everything that comes after. Warm October air in Los Angeles. That exact temperature where you do not need a jacket, but you appreciate the breeze, the city skyline shining, as always. The string lights stretched across the rooftop cast a golden glow that made everyone look better than they were. The tables decorated in gold and white, candles flickering against the crystal glasses, the smell of fresh flowers that I requested from the hotel because Natalie had once mentioned them as her favorite. Another detail I remembered, and that she had probably already forgotten. I arrived early to check everything. The trio was tuning softly in the corner. The GoPro blinked faintly behind a lavender planter, invisible to anyone. When the guests arrived, the place filled with laughter and flashes. Natalie's friends arrived first. The PR crowd, loud, dressed as if for a photo shoot. Then her parents, my mom and my sister, some of my clients, and Tyler. Everyone seemed happy to be there. Natalie walked in last, of course, gold dress, sparkling heels, perfectly styled hair. Madison was right behind her, phone recording. "Happy birthday, Queen," someone yelled. Natalie laughed, did a little twirl, and said, "This is incredible." She hugged her parents, kissed her mom on the cheek, and started mingling for photos. Every few minutes someone would ask her for a picture or a boomerang, and she would pose with her drink and that rehearsed smile. I did not get annoyed. That was her world. She seemed happy. I sat with Tyler watching her move among the groups. "Ready?" he asked softly. "Yes, I am just waiting for dessert." Dinner was peaceful. The trio played smoothly. The waiters circulated among the tables. Natalie was on the other side, radiant, occasionally looking up from her phone to laugh at something her dad said. After dinner, the lights dimmed. They brought out the cake. White frosting, gold glitter, 27 written in cursive. Everyone sang. Phones held high, flashes lighting up her face. She laughed, covered her face as if she were embarrassed, and blew out the candles in one breath. As the waiter took the cake away to cut it, the dessert plates started coming out. That was my cue. Mine had the ring inside a glass dome on top, exactly as I had planned with the chef. I stood up, smoothed my jacket, and took a deep breath. The trio changed the piece, something soft, slow, that filled the air without imposing itself. Natalie looked up, confused for a second. Then she smiled when she saw me standing. "Hey everyone, can I have a second?" I said to the crowd. The voices faded, some whispered. I looked at her and started speaking. My voice stayed steady. "I have known you for 3 years, and they have been the best kind of chaos I could have gotten. You changed how I see everything. You make life louder, brighter, and I do not want that to end." I got down on one knee. Gasps, cell phones held high. Madison's camera zoomed in immediately. The trio's music dropped to a soft plucking. And then Natalie laughed. A full, unfiltered burst of laughter that bounced all over the rooftop. She looked around as if it were an inside joke everyone should understand. "Oh God," she said, still laughing. "Connor, did you seriously think this was serious? We were just having fun." The rooftop froze. Even the trio stopped playing. I stayed kneeling there for maybe 5 seconds before standing up. I did not seem angry. I just stopped moving. She still had her hand over her mouth, half smiling, her eyes drifting toward Madison. Madison kept recording, phone steady, a little smirk pulling at her face. I reached for the dome, took the ring, put it in my jacket pocket, looked at Natalie, and said, "Understood, happy birthday." Silence. Natalie's dad shifted in his chair. My mom covered her mouth with her hand. Tyler looked ready to stand up, but he did not. Natalie's smile faltered for a second, as if she had realized too late that this was not a joke. I nodded to her parents, then to Tyler. I turned around and walked toward the elevator. My footsteps echoed on the tiles because no one else was making a sound. I did not stop. When the elevator doors closed, I inhaled once. It was over. No anger, no yelling. It just ended. I sent a message to Tyler from the lobby. Pay the bill. I am done. Tyler also grabbed the GoPro on his way out and dropped it off at my apartment the next morning. He replied with a single message. Done, bro. I went out through the side entrance of the hotel, walked past the valet parking line, and headed into the street. The air felt heavy but clean, as if everything had finally stopped spinning. I did not call anyone. I did not check my phone. That night, I put the ring box on my desk. I sat next to it for a minute. I slid it into the drawer, turned off my phone, and lay in bed staring at the ceiling until I fell asleep. The next morning, I woke up to over 100 notifications. At first, I thought someone was checking in on me after last night. Then I opened a message from a client. It was a TikTok link. The caption hit me before the video even started. When your hookup proposes to you on your birthday. Posted by Madison. I pressed play. The clip started exactly where I stood up at dinner. The camera was shaking as if someone were pretending not to record. You could hear my voice saying, "You make life brighter," and the quiet reaction of the crowd. Then the zoom. Madison's phone locked onto me kneeling. Then on Natalie, laughing, saying, "Did you seriously think this was serious? We were just having fun." It cut there. It did not show how I stood up, how I put the ring away, how I walked out calmly and with dignity. Just the 10 most humiliating seconds. The clip already had 2 million views. The comments were all over the place. She is brutal, but honest. His soul left his body. Why propose at her party? By noon, there were hundreds of reposts, reaction videos, memes, edits with AI filters that made me look like an expressionless doll. One version added violin music and put it in slow motion like a movie scene. Another used an AI voice saying, and that is the exact moment he realized she was never his. Then came the ones analyzing the frames. See this glitch? This part is AI enhanced. The lighting does not match here. But the audio was real. Nobody denied that. People argued in the comments about what was real and what was fake, forgetting that the real person they were talking about was sitting in his apartment in the Silver Lake neighborhood, trying not to feel overwhelmed every time his phone vibrated. That night my mom called me. She had seen the video on social media. I told her not to worry, that I was fine. She said, "You did not deserve that, son." And then she added, with that voice only moms have when they are holding back their anger, "If you want us to reach out to her family, just say the word." I laughed for the first time all day. "No, Mom, it is fine. It is not fine, but it will be." And that was the only thing that truly hurt me. Not the humiliation, not the video, not the 2 million people who saw me kneeling, but hearing my mom swallowing her anger to be strong for me. That was what weighed the most. The next 3 days I did not leave the apartment. Not out of depression, out of choice. I needed space to process without anyone asking me how I was doing with that pitying face people make when they see you in a viral video. Tyler came over on the second day without warning. He brought a bag with takeout from our favorite spot and 2 cans of beer. He sat on my couch, turned the TV to a sports game, and did not say anything for 40 minutes. When the food was gone, he finally spoke. "You know what is the craziest part of all this?" "What?" "That you are the guy in the most viral video of the year, and you do not even have TikTok." I laughed hard, the way I had not laughed in weeks. "Dude," Tyler said more seriously, "I am not going to tell you that you are better off without her, because you know that. I am just telling you that what you did on that rooftop, standing up, putting the ring away, saying happy birthday, and walking away. That was the most dignified thing I have ever seen in my life. And I went to your fake wedding. It was not a fake wedding. It was a proposal that turned into a TikTok. That is worse." He was right. And somehow his dry humor was exactly what I needed. Someone who did not treat me like a victim, but like a buddy who went through something awful and needed some food and a game. I opened my laptop and started saving every version I could find. The original from Madison's account, the AI edits, the reposts with captions, anything with my face or my name. I created a folder called Evidence. It was not for revenge, it was for control. If this got worse, I needed records. I am a videographer. I know what a well-organized archive is worth. At 9 at night, I checked my messages for the last time. One name stood out, Hannah. Her message said, "I saw the video. I need to tell you what really happened." I stared at it for a minute. I replied, "What do you mean what really happened?" She responded almost instantly. "Not here. Can we meet tomorrow?" Hannah asked to meet in a little cafe in Silver Lake, one of those quiet ones, with no music, with old squeaky chairs. The kind of place Natalie would never have gone to because it did not have the aesthetic for photos. She was already there when I arrived, sitting by the window with her phone face down. A detail I noticed because Natalie never put her phone face down. To Natalie, the phone was an extension of her body. To Hannah, it was an object she put away when she did not need it. "Thanks for coming," she said with a half smile that seemed more like an apology than a greeting. "You said you needed to tell me something." She nodded, pulling nervously at the sleeve of her sweater. "Yes, I probably should have said it sooner. I did not have proof at the time, and I was afraid of ruining everything if I was wrong. Prepare yourself for anything." That was the most I dared to say. She took a deep breath and started talking. What happened that night was not random. They knew. She explained everything to me. Natalie had rekindled a connection with her ex, a guy named Julian, who worked at a startup in the area months ago. At first, they were just catching up. Natalie told Hannah he was harmless. Just two people who used to date, but everyone knew that was not the case. Julian still had feelings, and she enjoyed the attention. They began spending more time together, dinners, drinks, any excuse, in ways that crossed important boundaries. Madison knew everything. She thought it was funny. She said I was too stable, too boring. They made jokes about me. "He is probably already planning the next dating anniversary. I bet he has a Google Docs folder for that." They made jokes about me? Yes, I did not laugh. It felt wrong, but they dismissed it as harmless. A week before the birthday, someone in my friend group messed up. In a group chat from a past trip to Joshua Tree years ago, where Natalie was still included. Someone wrote, "I cannot wait to see her face when you pull out the ring." Natalie saw it. She did not tell me anything. She showed it to Madison. Madison said they should record it. "I am going to film it and make it look like one of those viral rejection clips." Natalie said, "Whatever, he will be fine." Those were her exact words. "He will be fine." As if my heart were some paperwork that sorted itself out. But there was more. Hannah unlocked her phone and slid it across the table. On the screen, screenshots, messages, dates, photos. Julian and Madison together, taken weeks before the proposal. They had become involved with each other as well. Natalie did not know, or maybe she knew now. I handed the phone back. Looks like the joke aged poorly. Hannah almost smiled. "You could say that." Before leaving, she said, "You did not deserve any of this. She is not who you thought she was." I nodded. She made sure I found out eventually, just not the way she planned. A month passed. I had not posted anything or said a word online. The clip kept circulating, but it was starting to die down, replaced by whatever new drama came along. One weekend, Tyler dragged me out of the apartment. "You have been locked up too long," he said. "Let us go eat real food, no delivery apps." We ended up at a food truck in Boyle Heights, one of those with metal tables and salsa that has some kick. The lady at the stand gave me double onions without me asking because she saw the look on my face that said I needed it. We ordered grilled steak and marinated pork tacos with everything, and some hibiscus drinks. And for the first time in weeks, I was not thinking about the rooftop or the video. I was thinking that good tacos with green salsa and lime are probably the closest thing to therapy that exists in Los Angeles. We were midway through dinner when Tyler's phone vibrated. He looked at the screen, froze for a second, and turned to me. "Dude, you have to see this." It was a TikTok link. The caption read, "Full video, uncut, unedited. Draw your own conclusions." The video started from the same angle on the rooftop, my GoPro's angle. Someone had leaked the original footage. No filters, no AI smoothing, no narrations, just raw image and sound. The moment unfolded exactly as I remembered it. Me standing up speaking clearly, the crowd quieting down, Natalie smiling for half a second before bursting into laughter, but this time you could see Madison's camera pointing right at her and her smirk while she kept recording. And the footage did not stop there. It showed the silence afterward. Natalie's parents in shock, my mom covering her mouth, Tyler half standing up and then staying calm, Me putting the ring back in my pocket saying, "Understood, happy birthday," and walking toward the door. Within an hour, it was everywhere. The comments shifted overnight. She is just cruel. Now that I saw the full video, I feel bad for him. He handled it better than most could have. AI creators who had made mocking edits started deleting their posts. Some commented, "I did not know it was manipulated." "Sorry," Tyler said, "you should post something. People would finally see your side." I shook my head. There is no point. The truth is already out there. It will speak for itself. We did not post anything because we did not have to. The second you defend yourself online, you look guilty, even if you are not. Silence does the job better. That night, Natalie's name started trending. Not mine. Old clips of hers resurfaced. The comments under her posts became brutal. Some called her manipulative. Others tagged the brands she worked with. Madison's accounts went private in a matter of hours. By the next morning, half the brands Natalie worked with had unfollowed her. Some published vague statements about respect and empathy in all the content they support. Everyone knew who they were talking about. In the following weeks, I returned to my routine, work, gym, errands. I had 3 weddings left to edit and a short documentary about local food cart vendors that I had committed to delivering in December. I focused on that. When you are in the editing room cutting clips, color grading, syncing audio, your brain does not have room to think about anything else. It is almost meditative, and I needed it. I started cooking again, something I had not done since before Natalie, because she preferred ordering delivery, and I just went along with it. I made a spicy tortilla breakfast dish with eggs and salsa the first Sunday. It came out way too spicy, but I ate the whole thing at the kitchen counter, looking at the street through the window. And it was the most satisfying breakfast I could remember in a long time. I fixed a leak in the kitchen faucet that had been dripping for months. One of those things I always put off because it was not urgent. I fixed it in 20 minutes with a wrench and a new part from the corner hardware store. When it stopped dripping, I stood there listening to the silence. No dripping, no background noise of someone scrolling through TikTok on the couch, just clean silence. I visited my parents in the valley one Sunday. My mom hugged me tighter than usual and said, "You handled it with class, my son." My dad did not say anything. He has never been a man of many words, but he put his hand on my shoulder as I was leaving and left it there for a couple of seconds longer than normal. To him, that was a whole speech. Hannah texted me from time to time asking how I was. We started meeting for coffee once a week. Nothing serious, just easy conversation. We would sit in the same coffee shop in Silver Lake where she told me the truth, at the same table, right by the window. We ordered Americanos, sometimes with fresh pastries when they were in season, and we talked about normal things, her job at an independent publishing house, my video projects, a documentary about street vendors I wanted to make that she said was going to win an award at a film festival. With Hannah, everything was simple. There were no games, no face-down screens, no rehearsed smiles. When I told her something, she looked me in the eyes. When I spoke, she did not take out her phone. When something made her laugh, she genuinely laughed, not so someone could record her, but because she actually found something funny. I did not realize I was falling in love until one afternoon when I saw her crossing the street with a coffee in each hand, one for her, one for me. And I thought, there it is. It is her, it was always her. She did not mention Natalie much, but sometimes you could tell she still felt guilty for not warning me before the birthday. I told her to let it go. It was not her who laughed on camera. It was not her who planned the humiliation. She was the one who tried to warn me with the only words she dared to say. Prepare yourself for anything. Months later, Hannah sent me a screenshot that stopped me in my tracks. Natalie's ex, Julian, had been exposed for his involvement with Madison behind her back. Someone caught them together at an event, and the photos were clear. The comment sections were ruthless. Even people who had once defended Natalie were now saying, "Karma is real, and looks like she knows how it feels now." Natalie's accounts went private. Madison's disappeared completely. It did not make me happy. I just felt drained, as if the world had finally closed the chapter for me. 2 years passed before Natalie contacted me again. An email titled Closure. I opened it. It was long, paragraphs stacked up as if she were trying to empty all her guilt onto the screen. She said she was in therapy, that she had learned accountability, that she had lost everything, the followers, the brand deals, even friends. Madison had blocked her. Julian was gone. Every post she uploaded still got comments like, "The rooftop girl," or "We were just having fun." At the end she wrote, "I know you owe me nothing. I just want to apologize face to face." I replied shortly, "Coffee in Silver Lake, Friday at noon." And so we arrive at the beginning of this story. The coffee shop. Natalie across from me. No makeup, tired eyes. "I lost everything," she said. "The people who sought me out for collaborations disappeared. Brands dropped me without a word. My old friends do not invite me anywhere anymore. They do not want the attention." She laughed once. Not the same laugh as before, just empty. "I cannot even date anyone. Everyone knows who I am before I even sit down. I became a meme. I think about that night all the time," she continued softly. "About how I looked at you, how I sounded. I do not recognize myself in that video. That version of you is still out there," I told her calmly. Millions of people saw her. Her eyes filled with tears. "I know. That is why I wanted to see you. I needed to tell you I am sorry, Connor. I was awful. I do not expect you to forgive me, but I had to tell you." She wiped her face quickly. Then she said, "I miss what we had. I miss who I was with you. You made me feel safe, real. I did not see it until everything else vanished. I do not know if it is too late, but I would do anything to start over." Her voice cracked on start over. She leaned toward me desperately, searching for something in my face. "You had that chance," I told her calmly. "You laughed in its face." "I know, but I changed. I swear I changed." Before I could answer, a voice came from behind. "Sorry I am late," Hannah said, walking toward our table with an Americano in her hand. Natalie froze, turning her head slowly. Her eyes widened as Hannah approached, and the midday sun hit her hand. On the ring, small, simple, elegant, a teardrop-shaped opal. Yes, the same ring, the teardrop opal. Hannah had seen it in my drawer 6 months after the breakup, one afternoon when she was at my apartment and opened the drawer looking for a charger. She asked me for the story. I told her the whole thing. Natalie's comment about the raindrops, the weeks looking for the jeweler who would hand make it, the night I hid it in my jacket pocket with sweaty hands. Hannah cried, not for the ring, but for what it represented, that someone took the time to remember a casual comment and turned it into a promise that could never be delivered. I gave it to her 3 months before that coffee shop meeting, on a random Wednesday night, in the living room of my apartment, with the dinner plates still in the sink and a movie paused on the TV. There was no rooftop, no string trio, no guests, just me kneeling between the couch and the coffee table with the same ring that was once rejected with a loud laugh. Hannah said yes before I finished the question, without hesitating for a second, without laughter, without cameras, just a yes, with wet eyes and a smile that was for no one else but me. I stood up, pulled the chair out for Hannah, and said, "Natalie, do you remember Hannah?" Natalie's mouth opened. No sound came out. "You guys are engaged." A long silence. Then Natalie laughed, but it came out shaky. "You really moved on." Hannah smiled faintly. "Life does not wait for people to catch up." Natalie looked down, her hand trembling around her coffee cup. "I cannot even hate you," she said to Hannah quietly. "You were always the only one who tried to warn him, the only decent one in that whole group." I stood up, left some bills on the table. "It is getting late, Natalie." She looked at me with wet eyes. "Do you ever think about me?" "Only when someone mentions what I am not willing to tolerate." Her lip trembled. She quickly looked away, pretending to check her phone, even though the screen was off. Hannah and I turned around to leave. As we walked past her, she did not move. Her reflection in the cafe window showed her sitting completely motionless, shoulders slouched, face pale. The people around were chatting and laughing, but no one was looking at her. Outside, the sunlight hit my face. Hannah took my hand. "Are you okay?" she asked. "Yes," I finally said. We leaned against the railing looking at the same skyline, where everything fell apart once. Los Angeles stretched out below as always, loud, chaotic, indifferent. A street food vendor drove by honking down the street. A lady with a food cart called out her specials. A couple of kids on bicycles crossed paths laughing at something. Life went on, as it always goes on, without caring about anyone's drama. Behind us, I heard a chair scrape, Natalie getting up. She walked out a few minutes later, head down, trying not to be noticed. No cameras, no friends, no spotlight. Just her and the sound of her heels fading into the city noise. She would probably walk past the food vendor without noticing him. she would probably walk past the food cart without looking at her. The real world had always seemed too ordinary, too predictable, too barely elevated for her. But the real world is the only one left when the filters turn off and the followers leave. Hannah squeezed my hand. Shall we go? Yes. We walked through Silver Lake holding hands in silence, passing by the same streets where Natalie and I once shared tacos and laughter. I felt no nostalgia. I felt gratitude. Gratitude that that story had ended the way it ended, without me losing myself in it. That night, back home, I opened my desk drawer. The old ring box no longer had the ring. It was on Hannah's hand, where it always belonged. Inside the box, there was only a folded piece of paper that I wrote to myself months ago, on one of those nights where the silence of the apartment felt too big. I never begged to be taken seriously. I closed it, slid it back into the drawer, and smiled. The rooftop, the laughter, the humiliation, everything was over. And somewhere in Los Angeles, walking alone down a sidewalk that no one was filming, Natalie was finally learning what silence feels like. That silence that I mistook for emptiness for months, and that I now understood was always space. Space to breathe, to rebuild, to find the right person, and I found her exactly where I least expected her, in the chair next to me in a quiet coffee shop, with an Americano in her hand, and the most honest eyes I have ever known in my life. Comment. Hey friends, I wanted to share something with you after this one. I truly believe self-respect is something we should never negotiate. When a situation no longer feels right, walking away with quiet dignity can be incredibly powerful. Setting clear boundaries protects your heart and shows others how you expect to be treated. Real healing begins the moment we choose to stop accepting less than we deserve. I hope you always choose people who offer you kindness, honesty, and consistency. Taking responsibility for your own peace is one of the most freeing things you can do. You deserve relationships where you feel safe and genuinely valued. Never forget that choosing calm over chaos is a form of strength. Thank you for watching, and I hope this encourages you to keep choosing yourself every single day. If you liked it, don't forget to leave a comment and support the channel by subscribing. See you in the upcoming stories.